Hello, Stephanie here with a story for you. I hope this story finds you and your family settled in beside each other, ready to listen. Or maybe you're with a classroom and you're watching it on Zoom together, or you know about it and you'll watch it sometime by yourself. But I'm just so happy to come to you with some stories and some friends of mine that oh, well, I didn't forget that you were here. As this is Perky the parrot, who yeah, I'm telling them, please, that lives with me here in my home, and he wants to be here every time I tell a story. He's really my good luck charm, so I don't mind. But Perky, much like the children, you're going to settle down. You're going to need to find a good place with no distractions. Oh, I know. I'll put you up on your roost while we're telling a story, and then maybe you could say goodbye to everybody when it's done. So, Perky, come on, up, 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 up. I'll give you a treat later. Oh, that's nice. That's good, Perky. Good, Perky. So he's like right there on his perch, listening. Oh, what a good perch. So, Perky, just like everybody else, let's get ready for story time. Now, I thought I'd share with you a story today, a true story. Some people call it a personal narrative, and maybe in your classes or your work or at home with your homeschooling, you've heard of these stories we tell about ourselves. In fact, right now, people are really wanting you to share your stories, and you should ask your family at home to share their stories too. They can be about anything. Just ask a question, and before you know it, you'll hear a story. Like if you asked me, what was my very first pet? No, Perky, not my most beloved pet, but one of my very first pets. And his name was Oliver. Chicken story coming. Once upon a time, when I was in the second grade, I went to Marlin Elementary School, and I loved it there. Go Marlin Dragons! Well, in the second grade, my beloved teacher, she wanted to teach us about the life cycle of the chicken. And so she went so far as to invite a farmer into our schoolroom, and he brought eggs and a big machine called an incubator. And he placed those eggs very carefully in there and told us that they would turn automatically, much like a mother hen would do to them, and that they would be warm like a mother hen was sitting on them. But with this glass enclosure, we could watch them. And one day, he said, they'll use this amazing thing. The little baby chicks from inside the egg will use their egg tooth on the end of their beak and peck, 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 peck through until they come out. Well, we were so excited. We hung on every word. We knew exactly what was going to happen in that incubator by the time he left. But before he walked out the door, he told us something very special. He said that 3 baby chicks would be able to go home with 3 of us. He needed the rest of them on the farm. But oh, by golly, we started getting excited. And I know my little heart was going thumpity thump because I wanted a baby chicken so bad. Anyway, as soon as the farmer left, the teacher said, settle down, settle down. Now, this is how we'll do it. We will put a jelly bean jar on my desk filled with jelly beans. And when the chicks hatch, the 3 students who can guess closest to the amount that's actually in this jelly bean jar will win a baby chick. I wanted a baby chick. So, as the days passed, whenever we had free time, the rest of the students would go over to the incubator and they'd plaster their little faces up against the glass and they'd watch those eggs. They'd see the machine turn them ever so slowly and the warmth all around them. But I wasn't over there. You know where I was, right? I was at that jelly bean jar. And I was studying it, and I was estimating and counting and calculating. I wanted a baby chick. And the days passed in this way. But even I joined the group at the incubator on the day that somebody said, they're hatching. And true enough, as we watched the battle for each little baby to peck out of that shell was so much work. And then they had to fall out of that wet shell. And there in that warm incubator, they'd become fluffy little yellow balls right before our eyes, or brown or black. Oh, we were so excited. And we stood there and watched them all hatch. And then teacher said, "All right, everyone, to your desks." And we each took a little piece of paper, and with our pencils, we wrote our guess for the jelly bean jar. And all my calculating, all my estimating, all my wondering almost paid off. I was the 4th place guesser. I didn't win a baby chick. I was so sad. I've got to tell you, I was devastated. And it didn't help that each little baby chick was placed in a sweet little cardboard carrying case with little holes for the little baby chick to breathe. And one of the students rode my bus. And so she was real near me, and I just heard that baby chick all the way home that afternoon. Beep, 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 beep. And it just made it worse. And so I got off the bus, and we had a long driveway there on Russell Road. And I just had to take my time because I could barely see through my tears. And when I got to the front door, my mother and my father were standing there. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I told them that I hadn't won a baby chick. And my mother, she didn't seem very upset. In fact, she seemed kind of relieved. My father was all sort of, well, maybe next time. But there wasn't going to be a next time. And even at supper, I was all pouty and just had to go to bed early and just start a new day. And what a day it was. The next day, I went to school all forlorn, and one of the children brought their baby chick back in this little box. She said, "We can't keep this chicken. It's too messy." I said, "Well, yeah, it's messy. It's a chicken. Give it here." And so I, as the 4th place guesser, I did it, I'm sure, a little more politely than that, got my baby chick, and that day on the way home on the bus, it was my box that was going beep, 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 beep. And when I went down the driveway, I went oh so slow, but this time I didn't want to jostle my new baby chick. And there at the door was my mother, and she said, What happened?" I said, "Look, Mother, somebody brought theirs back because it was meant to be for me. And I'm going to name my baby chick Oliver." "Oh," said my mother, let's find a box for the kitchen." And so she put a cardboard box in the kitchen with a warm light over it to give it warmth. And then we put a little food and a little water. And it was so neat and pretty, but only for 3 seconds before the little baby chick got in there and scratch, 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 peck, 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 because baby chicks are messy. Well, time went by, and we watched that baby chick grow. It got pin feathers, and it became a little teenage chicken. And when it was a teenager, I said to my mother one day before going to bed, I said, "Mother, Oliver is just not wanting to be down here by himself anymore. Could I take him up to my bedroom? And I promise he'll be good." But before my mother could get out the word "no," I was already with my baby chick running up the stairs. And by the time she came to check on me for bedtime, Oliver was at the foot of my bed, roosting there at the footboard. And when she walked in, he already had one leg up, his head under his wing, and he was just the cutest thing. She couldn't say no. And so Oliver got to sleep on the end of my bed for 3 whole nights. But after that, my father miraculously had built a chicken coop. It was the fastest build of a chicken coop I think anybody's ever done. And it was in our backyard. And we put Oliver out there and got some more chickens to keep him company. I said, "Well, Oliver, you're going to have to be a good rooster out here. You're the first one we've had. You need to keep all these chickens straight over here." And so I'd go to check on Oliver every morning before I left for the school bus, and every day when I came back after school. And I took very good care of him. I just loved to sit there near the chicken coop and watch him as he peck, 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 peck in the dirt. And it was odd because I really don't know how he got anything down the chute and into his gullet. It was so random. And then I loved to watch him. He would take dust baths, and he'd whip his feathers around and get the dust up under his feathers and sit there so coolly in his dust bath. And I noticed that he was friendly with the other chickens, but one day when I came in before school, I noticed that all the other chickens were out in the yard already. But Oliver would not leave his nest. Now, he wasn't even up on the roosting bars where everybody else slept at night. He slept in his nest. And I just thought, well, he's a pampered chicken from those early days in the house. And but I told him, I said, Oliver, now listen, you you need to get out there and do like the other chickens do. And so I carefully lifted him up, and I was going to but when I rose him from that nest box, there beneath him were two of the most beautiful eggs I'd ever seen. I've never seen a kind like this before. Their shells were a light green. And I gently put him back, and then I ran and I said, Dad, come see what Oliver did. He's magic. And so we went out there, and Dad carefully lifted him up, and my mother was there too. And we looked down, and Father said, oh, well, look at this. Oliver is actually not a rooster. And Oliver is an Araucana chicken, very special kind of chicken. They lay green eggs, not on the inside, he said, but their shells could be green or pink or a light hue and just maybe more nutritious inside when you have them for breakfast. I was amazed. Oliver was an Araucana chicken and a hen. And so Oliver fooled me again. We had met in school, and he'd almost gone home with the wrong person. And then we had finally reunited, and we got to spend so much time in my house and in my bedroom when he had sleepovers. And now he had surprised me another time. He was not an Oliver. I suppose he should have been an Olivia, but he'll always be Oliver to me. We had him for years and years and years, and Oliver was so good at always teaching me how to care for others and to never be sure about a chicken's gender when they're that little. Lesson to learn, everybody. If you get a baby chick, you can tell, but it's kind of hard. And so that's my story of Oliver, who I loved so very much. And she was with me for years. It was a very good chicken. And I hope that if you have a pet story or some other story you want to hear from your family, ask them about their pets. And it'll be a story about you. That's why it's called a personal narrative. Okay, all right. I think he has some commentary here because what well, I know. Well, it wasn't about you. But yeah, I had another bird as a pet before you, Perky. But you'll always be my favorite plush little friend, so colorful, and Oliver will always be my very first chicken. Love you, Oliver. Love you, children. Bye.